Morning, morning. How you doing? It's tax return time, and not just for people in the UK. So for those that you don't know, I'm in just west of Paris in Saint-Germain, and the way that I pay my taxes for my business is quarterly. So every 3 months I have to pay a percentage of the whole revenue that I've received. And yeah, so I'm submitting taxes at the moment as well. But I know it's self-assessment time for self-employed people in the UK. Well, it's the deadline because you could have done it before today. But what is that? Why don't you do it as soon as? Why do you wait until the last minute to do it? That's an interesting question. When I first set up, I admit I did do it at the last minute. A couple of years into my business, I was doing it as soon as the day opened to submit my taxes in April. I was like literally counting down, had everything ready, and I was like ready to give them whatever it was that, was required of me. And it felt really, really good. But that's another conversation. So the little thing I wanted to share this morning was it's all part of this concept of setting yourself up for the business that you want it to become, right? Like being energetically aligned for if you see it as a multiple 6-figure business or a multiple 7-figure business or whatever, like being aligned with that from the get-go, in my opinion, is some of the most powerful sort of manifesting that you can do, because you're like, that's what I'm ready for, that's where I'm going. So how could this look at the start of your business, or when you're at a point in your business where maybe the revenue is still not where you want it to be, but it's starting to come in? Maybe it's kind of like sporadic, or it's not big amounts, or it's a bit like up and down and stuff like that. As soon as possible. And as soon as possible basically means now, because everything's immediately possible when you decide that's how you're going to operate. Start to see the money that's coming into your business in the same way you would if it was, hundreds of thousands, millions, hundreds, whatever. So for me, what that looks like is when the money comes in, So when I first started, it was a very simple accounting system on a spreadsheet, super, super simple Excel spreadsheet. I knew what was coming in, I knew what was going out. I really had eyes across everything, to make sure that I was essentially, profitable, lean in terms of outgoings, and that I was starting to build something from the bottom that was like financially sustainable. If you're somewhere that you can claim expenses, and actually even if you're not, because in France, the type of business mine is registered as, I can't even claim deductibles. What I do is literally pay a percentage, 23% of all revenue that comes in. Now that might sound high, but that includes all my national insurance contributions, pension contributions, everything. And it is very, very simple. But I still register all my expenses and all my outgoings so that I can see the business as a whole. The people that I've coached who have grown their businesses to like tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands annually have been the ones that have started as they mean to go on. They've not gone, well, I'll do that further down the line because at the moment it's only 100 quid here, 75 quid there, 200 quid here. They've gone, right, let's get eyes on this. And another thing that is really, really important to do in that is to start separating your money out. Now, I've had my own like percentages which have changed over time because actually, as my income's grown, I haven't actually paid myself more. What I've done is I have actually got to a point where I've capped out my salary per month, and then the rest is getting stashed. It is being stashed for cash. for cash for tax, for expenses, like for my own coaching, for training, for my VA, for like promotional stuff, all of that stuff. So it's continually like compounding and growing, because you know, what you pay attention to grows, and I want to do that like in all areas of my business. So even though next year my business is predicted to generate easily over 6 figures for the year, these are the things that I've been doing like from way before that was the case. So even if £100 comes in, I'm not going to say only, because £100, someone's paid you 100 quid, like that's where it starts. I started with someone giving me 75 quid, 100 quid, 200 quid, a grand, whatever it might be. So please stop saying only, because it's revenue. Well done, congratulations. So even when the amount is £100, I want you to start thinking, how am I going to separate this out? The first and most important thing you're going to do is you're going to pay yourself. I can't tell you how important that is for the energetic sustainability of your business. You've got to pay yourself. So if 100 comes in, what I've seen people do is like, oh, well, that's like, you know, some shopping at Sainsbury's, and it's gone. So there's been nothing set aside for tax. There's been nothing set aside for reinvestment. There's been nothing set aside for business expenses. It's like you think you're getting paid cash in hand, and you're not. Well, you are if you want that kind of a business, but if you are actually wanting to grow something that has got longevity and sustainability, that £100 needs treating like it was £100,000 coming in. So what percentage of the revenue are you going to put away for tax? Bearing in mind what you predict that you are going to earn if you put in the time, the effort, the energy, and all the things to get your business to where you want it to be. You've got to say, okay, this is my intention for the business, so this is my intention for my tax bill. So what percentage are you going to put away for tax? What percentage are you going to put away to reinvest? What percentage are you going to put away to have for business expenses like Zoom or Canva? Like even at a very low level, like you will have expenses. You will have some small expenses. You know, my business has stayed very, very lean, but like there have always been some expenses to be taken account for. So what percentage are you going to set aside for that? So if you want to start with a really, really simple way through, you could start with something like this. 45% is my wages, and 55% goes towards tax, investments, it's spending, savings, and that, just like all of that stuff kind of thing. If you want to keep it really, really simple, you can get more complicated as you start to see how that actually is starting to pan out, what you're projecting, how you think that's going to look, like what you're going to need, etc., etc. And then as time goes by, what you can then move to something where you start to tweak it. I got to a point where I was like, I literally don't need that amount of money in my salary every month. It would be more wise for me to start, because I'm self-employed and there's a level of unpredictability in terms of the income, although that's a whole other story. You can build in a level of predictability very, very easily. That comes in time. But like, I can start to essentially put to one side more and more, because my salary is plenty, and that builds in things like, I just want to take a full month off. In fact, I don't want to work the whole of the summer, or I don't want to do anything for like 3 weeks over Christmas and so on. But what you focus on grows, and that works like both ways, negatively and positively. So start to focus on like growing the pot that is your investment pot, your tax pot, your profit pot. You know, start to do that. But please, for the love of God, pay yourself regardless of what the amount is. And know that there's going to come a certain point where you're like, I actually don't need like that much. And so now I can put even more into that and start to build in like even more space. So I'd love to know, when you're getting paid, what do you do with it? And when I say when you're getting paid, what I really mean is when money is coming into your business, because it's not all for your wages. It ain't, unless you have a goal to stay below the threshold of paying any tax and contributions, in which case press unfollow now, because I'm not about that life. I'm about building real, sustainable, profitable, enjoyable businesses. So how do you handle that? Let me know. When the amount is £100 or £100,000, like, focus on what that looks like, where it gets divided up, you know, so that it doesn't all of a sudden don't turn around and go, like, I've done all that work and for what? And then you get to the 31st of January or whenever your tax return's due and you're like, holy fuck, I don't have any money to pay this bill. This month, there is so much excess and overflow in my business account. I am not actually tapping into the tax account to get the money out that I've set aside every month to pay my tax bill. I'm just going to pay it cash out of the business account because I've got that far ahead of things. But one thing that I've always done is pay myself, you know, and celebrate and have fun with it and blow it, you know, blow some of it. So anyway, that's enough. This is getting a bit long. So I'm off for my walk in the forest. It's very cold, but very gorgeous. And, oh yeah, I'll do another one.